Hello and welcome to the Jurassic World podcast. This is episode 26. Check out famousids.com for 20% discount if you use coupon code JWORG, and JurassicFangear.com for more fantastic Jurassic World and Jurassic Park products. I'm joined by Chris and Asees. Hey guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, man. We are also joined by Jurassic Collectables.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
You may, if you check out his YouTube channel, you will recognize that voice instantly.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
I mean, we should have got you to intro the podcast, actually. That would have made more sense.
I can still do that if you want me to.
Go for it, man. Do an intro.
Hi, guys. This is Jurassic Collectables. Welcome back. And we got Asees, Chris, and Jack here.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Beautiful.
Great to be
there
on.
we go. So what you do is then you can edit that right at the beginning.
Perfect. So, yeah, it's great to have you on. I think what people most... Okay. I'm just going to go for it, man. What are your views on Jurassic World?
So I always preface, whenever anyone asks me that question, I say, first of all, do you really like Jurassic World? And I say, if you do really like Jurassic World, I don't want to take anything away from that, because Jurassic World has been really good for the visibility of the Jurassic Park franchise and for fans worldwide who've generally accepted this film and they've loved it. So I don't want to take anything away from that. And if you love the movie, you know, you don't have to listen to my opinion. But personally, I found the film quite disappointing on a kind of quality level. I think it pales in comparison to the original and also a bit The Lost World. I think it doesn't have the Spielbergian feeling. And a lot of the good parts about the film, I think, work because they evoke the same feelings as the first film. So actually they're kind of just pointing back at the first film. So in a way, I feel like there could have been so much more. It was a missed opportunity, but I'm glad that people really liked it and adopted it, and I'm pleased that the franchise has done as well as it has.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I think Asees will agree with you on some of that.
Yes.
I mean,
that's all I have to say for now. We'll get deeper into this.
I think that we all agree to, in a lot of regards, in the sense it's definitely a very different feeling movie, and it definitely isn't Jurassic Park. But it's Jurassic World, and I guess that's really what it needs to be. But Jurassic World could have been anything, but it is what it is now. And for better or for worse, I enjoyed it. But it's certainly, I wouldn't say it's like Jurassic Park. It's a very different film in a lot of different ways, but it still feels like a continuation of the Jurassic franchise.
I think the thing for me is that Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, yeah, of course they feel different, but so did The Lost World and Jurassic Park, but The Lost World's so much more.
But The Lost World feels more like Jurassic, exactly. No, I totally agree. The Lost World really feels like a Jurassic film.
But it's such a different film. It has different themes, different. Even the cinematography is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a different film, but it's still Jurassic Park. And I think to the same extent, JP3 as well. I think I'm not defending JP3, but it feels. I think Asees has said this before. It feels like a Jurassic Park film.
It's 100% a Jurassic Park movie, much more than Jurassic World, and I can argue that for like a good hour and a half.
Yeah, but you also think it's better than The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and
I mean it is though. but The Lost World's the best movie ever made, so it's hard to compare.
But seriously, I really do love The Lost World. Damn, I love The Lost World.
Yeah, David, what do you think of The Lost World? Is that?
I think The Lost World, for me, I was around at the time when it came out, so I was there for the sort of the sequel hype. And for me, it's a really good sequel because it not only takes the premise of Jurassic Park, but it continues it on in a way that's very, very faithful to the original source material, and yet manages to bring a new aspect to the storyline, which is this dark aspect of the dinosaurs being absolutely free. And I think it almost feels like Spielberg wanted to shoehorn that in to the sequel, whatever was going to happen with Jurassic Park. It feels like in his imagination he wanted to go back to the island and see what would happen if the dinosaurs were just loose there still. And obviously in the way that the story had continued, not only in the expanded universe, but in the way that it had been discussed afterwards, it was that Jurassic Park had been destroyed. So he was in a difficult place to continue the story in the way that he would have wanted. So I think the novel, The Lost World, presented him with a way of doing that in a really cool way. I think it gets a bit silly, The Lost World. Looking back, it gets a bit silly towards the end. But I actually kind of really reveled in it because at the time I was probably, I think 11 or something, maybe younger than that, actually. So I would have been really young. I would have reveled in the fact that T-Rex was romping around the city, and there was all kinds of silliness going on. So for me, Lost World is, I've got a very special place in my heart for Lost World. Jurassic Park is by far, the best film, and even The Lost World pales in comparison to the first, in my opinion. The second one handles the source material very well. I would say the third one handles the source material well, but gets more Hollywoodized. And basically it feels like there's more studio. Yeah, and there's more studio intervention going on. And then the fourth film feels like it's completely Hollywoodized, and there's a bit of a disjoint from the source material. It's almost like they've rebooted it for a mass audience. They've kind of created a reboot of Jurassic Park and made it more packageable and sort of editable and like edible for like everyone to consume. It's like it's more like everyone's film, whereas the original was very much a kind of a science fiction masterpiece. This is more of your popcorn, everyone's Jurassic Park. That's what it feels like to me.
That's a really fair point, and I think just a follow-up question that I'll ask is compared to JP3, what do you Jurassic World versus JP3?
Yeah, I've had this question come up quite a lot because, there's a lot of Jurassic Park 3 haters out there. I think when I went and saw Jurassic Park 3 in the cinemas, this is actually how I felt. I felt like it had a Jurassic Park setup. It felt like a Jurassic Park movie. There were aspects of it that were cringy, mainly the raptor on the plane talking to Alan Grant and stuff like that. but then the story progressed and it actually got pretty good. Where I would say it got let down is at the ending. It rushed itself. It almost felt like we got 3/4 of the way through the movie, and then it suddenly ended with them getting off the island with the army and everything, and that was the end. And I think
it's true.
And I think that was disappointing because I wanted more of that. I wanted more of what was going on. The Spinosaurus, I didn't feel had the same presence as the T-Rex. Even when I watched it first time, I remember thinking that this doesn't really work as well as the T-Rex. But as far as consistency with the rest of the franchise, I felt like I was watching a Jurassic Park movie. Now, going to see Jurassic World, I was actually taken straight out of that consistency of Jurassic Park, just from the get-go, because there was no incident at the beginning, so straight away I didn't feel like I was watching a Jurassic Park movie.
Sorry, I gotta interject. That there was no inciting incident.
Yeah,
there was an egg break. Yeah, the egg breaking was cool. Showing the Indominus Eye and stuff. We'd seen it in a trailer, so kind of was like, yeah, cool.
And that is actually one of the key aspects of a Jurassic Park movie, is that introduction of fear straight away. And I know that's kind of trying to create that same feeling with the egg. But later on, Owen actually talked about the fact that there was an incident earlier on with the feeder before, one of the young guys. And I just thought in my head, I was just like, well, off the top of my head, you could have just put that at the beginning and it would have made it an awesome Jurassic Park opening. But they didn't. And I don't know, maybe they were going to have that. I don't know. But
we've discussed in a previous podcast, there does seem to be a lot of footage that wasn't in the deleted scenes. There's even stuff in bonus features that Chris spotted, like with a log falling, which they were filming.
Right.
But it wasn't a deleted scene, and it wasn't in the movie. So I think there is a fair amount that they're not showing us.
Yeah.
And maybe it didn't make it far, because I know that they talk about in the special features that they change things on the fly, and then they oftentimes change the control room scenes to kind of reflect the new changes to the script. So it might be things that, like, literally just, it's not like they can add it in because the later scene they did actually contradicts that scene, and they decided to drop that.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems strange to me because, like you said, it's one of the most memorable parts of the franchise is those intro scenes.
Oh, absolutely,
Scenes, and then you get the titles, and then it's like, oh my god, this is going to be good. And then it calms down, obviously, you get the introduction to the film. I don't get why that was left out.
I can understand from a director's point of view, Colin Trevorrow thinking, well, that's been in all the 3 movies. Let's not make it predictable. Let's not do the same thing that we've done for the other 3 movies. Let's kind of make this a different movie. I can understand a director wanting to do that. But quite often that's where a film suddenly falls down, where you haven't respected the source material enough to see where you need to, create the consistency of the franchise. And I think when it goes into, that incident part wouldn't have bothered me too much, but then it's the way it goes into this, what I would describe as a Home Alone opening, where you've got
Oh my God, yeah.
a family getting ready to go on holiday. It's snowing. There's a giant bird's foot that's supposed to represent a T-Rex. I mean, like, I was just taken so far out of the film. I was like watching it from 2 miles away. I mean, it could have been a TV movie version of, Jurassic Park 4. I mean, I really was like, oh my God. And then the film carried on, and I kind of went with it. And actually, probably the introduction of the I-Rex was the saving grace. I actually thought it was getting good then. And actually, it was funny because in my mind straight away, I identified the way that they introduced the I-Rex, like they did the raptors in the very first film. And I was like, cool, that's paying homage to the raptors. But then all of a sudden we skip forward to the raptors, and the raptors have not been paid homage.
Is it my connection?
They're in broad daylight being fed scraps like dogs. And I was like, oh my God, so you've just paid homage to something that was really fierce and intelligent and supposed to be this, almost invincible dinosaur. And now we've gone forwards, and the raptors they've just been taken down like 6 notches to a point where I don't feel like they're the same thing. I mean, in fact, I would have preferred if they just said, we've actually genetically engineered these raptors to be more docile. I would have believed that, and I think I would have actually thought that was a better storyline. But they didn't. They actually pretended that those were the raptors that we've seen in the rest of the franchise, and that's just not consistent with the franchise whatsoever. For me. That's just for me. That's my opinion.
I think I'm with you there, man. I think the problem I think what Jurassic World left out for me was the fact that the raptors were just not scary. They were not terrifying like they were supposed to be. And while I did enjoy what what Owen was doing with them and the training, I get that it was pushing the franchise forward the same way each movie has developed the raptors a little bit. But the raptors in JP3 were just far superior, much more scary. I liked the raptors in JP3.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the raptors in JP3 were kind of an okay progression in terms of, they just changed the look of them, which is what they actually did for the Lost World. But for Jurassic World, I feel like they progressed they moved the characters of the raptors themselves, and they are characters. They've got names in this film. They moved them away from what we know about them in the rest of the trilogy. They don't fit with the way that Grant is slowly learning more and more about their intelligence. They're slowly becoming more and more vicious. And then suddenly now they're under our control. And I know they turn later on in the movie and they're out of our control, but I would say that level of control, even just introducing that idea, is a theme that it goes against the theme of the original Jurassic Park for me. And I know animals can be trained, but that doesn't mean that you should have trained raptors in Jurassic Park. That's not consistent with the idea of what a raptor is. They're supposed to be these like adversaries of men. They're supposed to be as smart as us, if not, smarter, but we just didn't realize it, and they would have superseded us, and now suddenly they're under our control.
Yeah.
I think
go on, Chris, you go.
I was going to be like, okay, by the way, I lied out, so I missed quite a bit of that, so if you cover some of this, I'm sorry. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with actually showing the raptors, like the way that I imagine the script read for the raptors, I imagine was just fine. Some of the ways they actually animated them, so the way they conveyed it, didn't quite work, but also I think they came onto it with too hard, too fast. Like, we should have been slowly introduced to that concept, rather than just kind of being introduced to the raptors and they're immediately somewhat trained. Like, our first introductory, and came on pretty hard and pretty fast.
And I think the incident would have done that. That's what the incident would have done. It would have reminded us of why we love the raptors as this, pretty sinister dinosaur, and then we go into the idea that they've been trained, or I really feel like they missed out on a trick just not saying, we've made them genetically more trainable. That's all they needed to say, and I would have bought that idea.
And who knows, maybe that was in the script. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was, to be honest, because it seems like there was quite a bit of filling details. Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
The plausibility of the film suddenly goes down a massive notch, and it had gone really high up for the I-Rex, and I was like, oh cool, this I'm buying this introduction of the I-Rex, despite the fact that the hybrids is a weird idea and it's quite Hollywoodized. I'm buying this introduction of the I-Rex, but then the raptors, I was like, whoa, okay, well that's taken me out of the Jurassic Park world again.
I think you're right, man. I think the Indominus really worked for me. It was handled really
The
well.
I
and
love
that
the
breakout
Indominus.
scene, they released the breakout scene early as a clip, and we discussed it on the podcast, and I absolutely loved it. I said, this is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Just that one scene is so perfect. The music, everything that was leading up to it, the cutting back and forth with the control room is perfect. I really didn't like the raptors in Jurassic World, and they just were not scary. And that's immediately takes, like you said, it took me out. Because I was like, where's my raptors that are going to kill anyone that they see?
And a lot of my
you know?
issue is honestly just the way they were animated. Like, the visual way that they were portrayed was pretty weak, in my opinion. Minus a few scenes during the nighttime. I think that they just didn't act like velociraptors. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they were even taking orders or anything like that. It had more to do with they just looked very off.
Now, the thing
Nothing
is...
felt real, man. Everything felt like... I don't
Except
know,
for the
like a cheap
Indominus.
spin-off.
The Indominus felt very real to me. The Indominus
Oh my god,
felt...
the Indominus animation, fantastic.
Yeah, same with like just like the CG for her. I just thought the Indominus was a really cool design and just really well done overall.
Well, it's worth noting that the actual techniques used to bring the dinosaurs to life were different. So, for example, on the movies so far, that they've been a combination of stop motion and keyframe animation, and then as we moved into the Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, it was predominantly keyframe animation. And now for this film, it was actually mocap. They actually used mocap for the raptors. Now that's going to imbue a much more of a sort of an anthropomorphized movement, a human movement, which, although we've had people driving the legs of the raptors in the puppets, for example, we've never had someone's head turning, driving the look of the raptor, or and that's not bird-like. That's human.
They went in and tweaked that, but I still think that it left too many anthropomorphized animation like segments, or like just kind of the overall feel of them. One of my least favorite scenes is when Blue nods at the end of the film.
Yeah,
Yes.
can we talk about that for 1 second? That's so Planet of the Apes nonsense. That's worse than Alan. I'm just gonna say it. That's worse than Alan. Because at least the Alan scene in Jurassic Park 3 was a dream or whatever. This is legitimately Blue talking to Chris Pratt. That was like the final straw for me. Like,
that shot for me was
more of this shit.
Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin for me as well. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to see this movie again. And I haven't watched it since. So it's
So you've only seen it once.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is,
Lucky
people say, aren't you kind of keen to watch it again just out of curiosity? And I do usually give films a second chance. I gave Prometheus a second chance, and I didn't enjoy that the first time watching. I think it's just because I'm so close to the franchise, the source material. I'm obsessed with this stuff. So to watch something first time and not enjoy it and be like, oh my god, it's hard. It's hard to go back and watch that again, because I don't want to put myself through that again. And
well, I gotta say, I think you have to watch it one more time.
Yeah.
I think you've
No,
got.
he doesn't.
I think you owe that to yourself.
Asees, you didn't
gets
stop
worse
liking the
with
movie.
every view.
You didn't stop liking it until your 10th time into it.
That is incorrect. Go back.
No, you liked it, Asees.
Podcast.
You liked it.
Asees,
It's
you liked it
correct,
more
man.
than Jack when the movie came out.
I
impossible.
wasn't sure.
There
I was
has to be-
50%. I was
Really?
50-50, man.
And it has to
That's
be
bullshit.
said that there is a honeymoon period of marketing and hype that has whisked this entire group of Jurassic Park fans towards Jurassic World. And I think in time we might look back on the film and go, hey, it was kind of Jurassic Park 3E, and it's not, the greatest movie ever. You still look back at the source material and you look at all the nuances that Spielberg put in. You put the female to female seat belts in there. He's got the ice on the floor in the kitchen that was there because Hammond went in and ate the ice cream. All these kind of beautiful details that Spielberg has kind of interlaced to this original film, and you just think it really can't be surpassed, no matter what anyone does. But I still think you could have made a more faithful sequel.
Yeah.
And here's where it comes down to with me. I agree that Jurassic World's a very different film. And the way that I say it, it does feel very Amblin. It feels like a Spielberg movie, but more along the lines of like E.T. and the Goonies, mixed with like Jurassic Park and Indiana Jones. In fact, quite a few of the story beats remind me a lot more of Indiana Jones than they do Jurassic.
I think of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I always go back to Raiders of the Lost Ark as like a really good movie to sort of pin on, and kind of like that setup, that whole scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where they do that setup about Hitler looking for the Ark of the Covenant. And I've gone back and I've watched that scene over and over again so many times. There wasn't even a hint of that scene in, Jurassic World. The only scene that came...
the character dynamics and the way that they interacted with each other, a lot of the comedy beats interlaced with the serious bits,
I didn't
that
feel
felt
for the
very
characters
Indiana Jones to me.
They felt very 2D to me. I mean, I had no connection to these characters whatsoever, and I'd agree that some Spielberg characters do feel a little flatter than some other movies, but I definitely care a lot more for Indiana Jones than I did for Chris Pratt's character.
Oh, sure, absolutely. No, I don't disagree there.
And I think that those scenes, those scenes that have just got that decorum and they've got that class, and they're just, you can watch that scene and it's so smart. It gets you so excited, and all it is a scene with 4 guys sat around at a university table talking about Hitler and him wanting to get the Ark of the Covenant. And it's that scene that sets up the whole film. I don't think Jurassic World had anything like that in the film.
Jurassic World doesn't have any slow scenes, and that's a problem that I have with the movie.
It's my problem from the first time I saw it. I came out and I was like, 1, that was too quick. 2, I have no idea what I think about that. And 3, where was the breathing room? There was no time
breathing
to breathe
room.
And just kind of take in.
Breathing room is so important. Take your pace, take your time. Don't skip, and I think we went straight into Jurassic World, and there was the whole park there, and, it was the Jurassic Park music over the top of a giant Hollywood resort. I don't get excited about a Hollywood resort. I mean, it looked like Universal Orlando. I didn't get excited about that image. I get excited about the music, but...
I got excited from that because I've always wanted to see Jurassic Park as a full park, like a real park.
Right.
I think that was the idea, and for me it worked. I know people have been hit and miss with that, but for me it actually worked. Like, building up that music over that, because I'm like, oh my god, it's the park. For me that worked. For other people it didn't. I do get that it probably would have worked more over dinosaurs or something a little bit more intimate, but it definitely worked, bringing that park to life. That worked for me.
That one bit I think was quite important to for us, especially because it's the way that it's delivered. I get that it was far too quick into the movie, but Ty Simpkins is like, I don't want to wait anymore. And he opens those curtains, and for me, that was the one line that resonated with me. I thought that is me. I was a child when JP3 came out. I've been waiting 14 years of my life for a Jurassic Park 4, and even though it wasn't everything I expected it to be, that one line where we come out and then the music comes in, I teared up there. That definitely hit me, that bit.
Yes,
that was good.
A few of those scenes still, like, every time I watch it, they still get to me. Like, I like them. Like, I definitely like that scene with Ty.
Yeah, no, I think the park, and I think this is something Chris has brought up before, the park looked amazing. I'm so glad it was real as well. They built that. Yeah. But it didn't show the dinosaur paddocks other than the petting zoo. It didn't show the dinosaurs being dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It just showed, look at Hollywood, look at this, look at Starbucks, look at the IMAX, look at this. And I get that was awesome, but show us the paddocks at the beginning, slow it down, and
we saw the
show us
concept art,
show us
in storyboards that we see that, like, we would originally went with Ty and Nick as they explored the park to all these different paddocks and all these different like, it looked like it was a montage of, like, them going through all, like, the key.
Oh wait, hang on. A what?
Yeah, I said that wrong.
A montage? Oh man.
I mean, the other
I was just gonna roll with it, but you just had to say something.
I had to. It's fun like that.
Anyways, but we see that they definitely had that planned, and it didn't happen. I don't know if they thought it was better without it, or if it was a budget thing. I'm not entirely certain. But it really could have used that, because for one thing, you have this awesome setting of a open dinosaur park, and you're going to destroy it as the movie goes on. So you're never going to return to that setting. So at the very least, embrace it and show us it. And when dinosaurs are running free, instead of just running around Main Street, have people run into, like, dinosaur zoo paddocks. Like, have them chased by dinosaurs in the underwater mosasaur viewing area. They just have such a beautiful backdrop.
I think the problem they ran into there was that they were trying to keep the dinosaurs away from the start of the movie as far as they could, because they hadn't given the introduction enough breathing space. They hadn't given this film a techno thriller introduction where you actually built up the suspense to going to the island. I mean, we just were there. Mm-hmm. And I think if you look at the other 3 movies, they all have a build-up of the story, whether you like that story or not. They have a scene, like the scene where Hammond's talking to Ellie and Alan, saying, you know, it's going to be right up your alley. It gets you excited. It's this build-up, this breathing space. You don't need to see Universal Orlando. You need to know what's going on in the story. You need to kind of feel for these characters to get to know them. And I think that's what the film really lacked, is that breathing space. Going back to what Jack said, is just being able to learn about the characters. I mean, we had the whole parents going through a divorce, you know, thing, which is obviously a nod back to the original Jurassic. But I really felt nothing for that storyline because I hadn't really gotten to know any of the characters, and I didn't really...
Yeah, you don't care. It was in there because it was supposed to be in there, and it didn't work.
And even in the original Jurassic, even in the original Jurassic, it's touched on, but not really. You know, you don't really deal with it. It's more that what Spielberg likes... More
in the book.
Yeah, and Spielberg likes to do this thing where he touches on something, but he doesn't press on it like with a Hollywood gas pedal, you know. He likes to kind of just say, this is what it is, and then later on in the movie that the motivations of those characters trickles through because of what's happening to them. You can see in E.T. what's going on with the parents breaking up, but it isn't what the core story is about. And it's kind of like that. I felt like in Jurassic World, it came to the fore too much to kind of make a point like, hello, we're nodding at Jurassic Park. And it's like, yes, I know you're nodding at Jurassic Park. Just make a good story, you know? I feel like the main thing wrong with Jurassic World was the writing, if I'm honest. I feel like Colin Trevorrow probably did a good job directing this film. I just feel like it was badly written. And there were other few incidental things like the raptors and... you know, that kind of brought it down a notch for me. But that's just my feelings, you know. Don't take that as, you know...
No, of course. I mean, we respect that. I mean, Asees is one of our own, and he hates the movie.
Which is good.
Well, strongly dislike.
Strongly dislike.
Strongly dislike.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's fine, man. It's Chris made this point when he first saw it, is that it's gonna split people. It's gonna people are gonna split over this movie, and I don't know what my final view of this movie is. I enjoyed it, and I watched it 4 times in the cinema. I've seen it a couple of times since. Every time I see it, there's something I like, and then there's something I dislike, and I'm finding it really hard to kind of know if I like it or not. Do you know what I mean? I'm finding it really hard to know if it did. I can definitely say that it didn't do what I wanted it to.
And did you have that same feeling with Jurassic Park 3? Did you have as much did you find as many holes in Jurassic Park 3 as you're finding in Jurassic World?
Well, when I first saw JP3, I was a kid, so I saw it loads of times with my cousins and my friends, and I loved everything about it. And then I grew up, and I realised it was full of holes. But the way Asees describes JP3 is probably the perfect way, is that it's a quick 90-minute dose of Jurassic Park. Like, it's nothing more. It's like if you want that Jurassic feeling, you just stick JP3 in, have it on in the background. You get the music, you get the elements, you get them running through the jungle, and boom, that's Jurassic Park.
Now, I just want to interject and say, I was a kid when Jurassic Park 3 came out also, and I did not like it.
Really?
I did not like it. Yeah, I really did not like it. It was such a disappointment.
I really want to do a Jurassic Park 3 episode. I think next
week
it's happening.
We will.
It really just disappointed me. Like, I did not like that movie.
I'd like to come to the JP3 episode.
We need to get like a huge Jurassic Park 3 needs to be a mega.
It's gonna be brutal.
It needs to be a mega podcast or live stream
I think a thing as well that I come away from Jurassic World feeling is that and Jurassic Park 3 has it to some extent as well, is that there is almost like this feeling of making it lighthearted, making it more, you know, appealing to a larger audience through more comedy, more of this sort of
it's all on the nose.
Feeling.
I disagree with that
it
so
lost
much.
All the subtlety. It lost all the subtlety.
And I think that there's a seriousness and almost a science aspect to the first film. It's got quite a lot going on in it, and actually the film is itself and the book is as well, is a statement. And I would argue that by the time we've got to the 4th film, it's now become a commercial and not a statement. It's a commercial for itself. It's essentially just selling more of the idea that was started in part 1. And what I'm really wanting to see is someone who comes along and actually presents an idea that isn't just, you know, a commercial for Jurassic Park 1. I want to see someone actually do something with the source material that's original and different and actually is quite smart. The same way that they did for X-Men First Class. They took the source material and they advanced on it. They actually went back and took X-Men, and it had got to this point with the franchise that was making loads of money, and yet they managed to make something really cool and different with it. And I think Jurassic Park, it really, like, the fans deserve that, I think. If it has to be a reboot or a prequel, whatever it is, I just think fans deserve something smarter.
But I think this was going to be one of my questions to you. So you're done with Jurassic World. You didn't like it, fair enough. I do think you should watch it again. Give it one more. But besides the point, I mean, there's going to be a sequel, and we will talk about who's going to direct that sequel. But I think the sequel will push it to where it needs to go, where the franchise needs to go. Jurassic World feels like a setup for moving the franchise on, but it's like it had to do that. It had to kind of go back to being a park and doing all that so that it could then set things up to advance sequels. Because if Lost World and JP3 did anything, it wasn't set up for future films. Especially JP3, it didn't do it. The only thing in JP3 was the pteranodons that fly away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need, though. That's all you need.
But that's why I feel like Jurassic World 2 is going to be the one that...
Jurassic World 2 did nothing to further the franchise either.
Jurassic World 2
I don't understand
not
this
out
It's not out yet, but...
Lost World, there you go. Number 2.
No, I'm saying I think Jurassic World 2 will be the one that advances the franchise scientifically and within the story.
Okay, we're going to go to that segment of the podcast where I say something really controversial and stupid, but I'm going to say it anyways. Jurassic Park is not actually a smart movie.
Oh my God.
No.
I swear you just create these things.
No, bear with me.
I don't understand you.
It's a quasi smart movie. Go back and watch. Okay, I was a pre-med student, all right? This movie is not very smart.
You're saying it makes up
bones.
its own science, and that is something that absolutely needs to exist in a science fiction film. I mean, it takes something that exists in reality and then something that won't work in reality, and it has to find a middle ground. And I think trying to say that, hey, the science isn't real, doesn't mean it's not a smart film.
I did not say that. I said it's a quasi-smart movie. It makes people feel smart watching it, but it's actually not a smart movie. It's just like a general movie.
I think it balances the science well.
I don't think
you don't want to be overloaded with that.
I don't think you'd see a movie with that much science.
I've actually never seen Jurassic Park, so I don't know.
You know, that wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah, you're crazy, man. But like,
really, okay. All right,
David. So Jurassic World 2, would you give it a go?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go see it. I'm really, I hope that it's good. My fear is that Jurassic World has pushed us, and I put this in a tweet the other day. It's pushed us to the top of a cliff where you can't really go any further now. It's like you almost feel like Jurassic World should be the end, because if they do a sequel, it's kind of like, I don't know, we're going back to the 2004 script now. It feels like we're going back to the the
that's
human
weird. I have the opposite.
hybrids.
I feel like we finally got away from that, actually. That's interesting that you said that, but I feel like we finally, like, Jurassic Park never felt like it was a big part of the world because it was just a small island that barely anyone knew about, and nothing really ever happened with it. But now we're seeing, what if Jurassic Park was successful in the sense of Jurassic World, and what happens when things are successful, they expand, and these companies bring things further, both metaphorically and physically. And I honestly think that with the way the park was in the state of Jurassic World, I mean, it just totally makes sense that we're going to find out in the sequel, there's a lot more happening in this world with dinosaurs that you don't even know about. And it's just going to make sense in the state that Mizrahi
then I worry that we're getting more far and far removed from the source material. We're getting further away from what Jurassic Park, the idea of Jurassic Park actually is. It's a threadbare park that didn't have enough money, didn't have enough staff, and they tried to create something amazing, and they succeeded just by the skin of their teeth, and they created these monsters that kill people. I think that's what the original Jurassic Park is, and unless you kind of keep to that source material, you end up with a movie that isn't Jurassic Park. You end up with Kong or whatever, the Pacific Rim with dinosaurs all over the world. I mean, it's kind of getting far and far away from your source material, where it doesn't feel like a Jurassic Park movie anymore. For me, anyway.
I think the argument there, though, is that they tried with I love The Lost World, and I like JP3 to a touch, but they tried with those films to move the franchise forward, and they didn't. They couldn't. And I think Jurassic World has done something smart for the franchise, where it's pushed it in a direction that it needed to go so that it can progress and move away from the islands, like Chris was saying. While I don't know what I feel about Jurassic World, I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure if it was what I wanted. I do feel like the sequel's gonna kind of take the elements of Jurassic Park that worked, the isolation, the making dinosaurs scary again, basically, like the raptors. But I think it's going to be set. It's obviously going to be set somewhere else, and I don't know. I feel like I'm excited for the sequel because I do think it may go back to what Jurassic was about. Does that make any sense? Because of what Colin said in interviews about raptors being in. What about if there were forests where people said, don't go in that forest, there's raptors in there.
Yeah.
That would be...
That seems too good to be true, though, Because how does Hollywood work? I'm not really sure, but because, like Transformers, they have, like, a model that makes a lot of money, and they don't deviate from that model. So what I'm thinking now is, Jurassic World knows what works. The hybrids, apparently trained raptors. I think we're going to get more hybrids, more trained raptors, more army shit.
Honestly,
I think we're gonna
here's the thing.
We're gonna go way far away from Jurassic Park, man.
And that's what I don't want. That's my fear.
Here's the weird thing. I don't think the audience is like Jurassic World because there is a hybrid in it. Now, I'm not gonna disagree about the trained raptors. People probably want to see more of that, so that's gonna happen. But I don't necessarily think they need hybrids. I don't necessarily think people cared too much. It was just an excuse to have a new big bad T-Rex-like dinosaur, and they don't care if it's a hybrid, a real dinosaur, or what. They just want something that's cool. They just want a cool dinosaur that's scary on the screen. And as long as they can do that, there's no need to go into the hybrid stuff. Now, again, I do think that we're going to see more humans working with velociraptors. But, we might see it in a way that's more palatable. And we also might see wild raptors being wild raptors again. And we might see just... I just want to see the dinosaurs acting like dinosaurs, like animals. And... if we can get that out of the movie in a way that works, I think it could be really good. And plus, I think that kind of leads us into who we heard they're looking for to direct the sequel. And
okay, yeah, let's talk about that, because...
that might be a hint in towards the tone that they're going towards.
So how do you say his name? J.A. Bayona? Bayona?
Sure,
Bayona.
yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, so he was they were looking at him to direct Jurassic World 2. He directed The Impossible, The Orphanage. Now, I watched The Impossible the other day, and I did not enjoy it, but I got what it was doing. I understand it. The Orphanage is fantastic. It's a fantastic horror film.
I haven't seen either one of those, I'll be honest.
Watch both.
Watch them both. Yeah, watch both, because The Orphanage is fantastic. And if they were looking at him to direct Jurassic World 2, then my excitement is through the roof, because that is a director I would love to see handle a Jurassic franchise. Even The Impossible, as much as I didn't like it, handled his characters brilliantly.
Was it emotionally? It was very I almost cried.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Baby. It was far too emotional. I get it was a horrible thing. But the kid bugged the hell out of me. I hated the kid in that film, and the mother to an extent. Oh my god, just shut up and die. Like, that was my view of The Impossible. But wow, I got the film. I liked the film. I thought it was well done, and I didn't enjoy it, but I got what it was doing. I think he's a fantastic director. After watching that and after knowing The Orphanage,
doesn't look like...
I think they were looking in the right direction for a sequel director there. He's much darker.
Yeah, and it could be that it repeats history with the Lost World, in that we have a darker sequel to Jurassic World being the Jurassic Park, and then we have the Lost World equivalent for the second movie, much darker, much more rain, much more night.
Rain. Oh my god, where was the rain in Jurassic World? That was the one thing. Oh my god. And we know that they did film a lot of more nighttime stuff.
Yeah, well...
right. We know they did a lot of stuff.
Also, if you look at the previs at the end of the movie, like from the Blu-ray, that original fight actually was happening during the rain. The three-way fight.
That would have been so cool.
I can't really explain.
And the earlier concept art showed that there's apparently a volcano erupting in the background at the same time, which is so over the top.
I would have walked out. I would have.
It's so over the top.
That would have been what the rumors were all about. Do you remember the volcano that was at the top of the map, like back?
Yeah.
I remember that. See, that would have been cool if they'd introduced the idea of it somewhere during the movie and actually sold it to us. But I think the way Jurassic World was, it would have just added another crazy element to the film that was already mental.
Unless, like, that volcano being active was the reason why animals got free, there's no reason to have an active volcano. That would just be, like, too much. Like, this happened, and now there's a volcano! Oh my... Like, it looks cool in art, it would probably look cool on screen, but there's a certain point where looking cool can be a... You can just end up shooting yourself in the foot with it.
Yeah, and Transformer syndrome.
Yeah, I don't even think Transformers looks cool. I like the first one, and that's about that.
First one's okay, yeah, first one's good. But anyway, I think with J.A. Bayona, however you say his name, I think the sequel's going to deal a lot more with the harsh reality of what Jurassic World set up, and that's important. You know, Claire should feel like shit for what she did and for what happened on that island. And, like, one, I don't want her character to come back, but I think
she's not a hero.
A lot of
she
people
should have been eaten.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people did a lot of bad things. You know, that what they did on that island was terrible, and I think it's gonna, now that dinosaurs are wherever they're gonna take these dinosaurs, the harsh realities are gonna come with it. People are gonna think about the people that died on that island. You know, there's gonna be court cases. There's gonna be people are gonna be destroyed by that, and I want the film to deal with that. I don't want it to be another light-hearted, you know, entry into the franchise. I want it to be dark. I want it to be like, yeah, so that first one set up great, you know, big park and everything, all these awesome dinosaurs. Let's have something terrifying for the sequel. And
but the problem is Colin and Derek are writing it again, and they've never done anything like that. So I still expect messy ass characters. They have to have someone else to write the movie. I just don't trust Colin writing it. I'm sorry.
Well, hey, like, I mean, someone needs to find the original script of
Jaffa Silver?
Planet of the Apes. Yeah, Amanda Silver and Rick Jaffa. Someone needs to find that script.
I
want to see
honesty,
how different.
I think that script will not come out. I think that's going to be on a tighter lock simply because of some of the drama that surrounded, you know, with the writing credit and everything like that. I think that for everyone's sake, it's probably better if that script doesn't come out, because then you're going to have the awkwardness where some people are going to say, oh my god, it's so similar, Colin Trevorrow didn't make it, and then they'll end up taking the blame for the film. Other people will be like, oh my god, it's so different, Colin Trevorrow should have got a writing credit. Oh my god, it's so much better, they should have done it. Oh my god, so, you know, I think that it just kind of gets weird and awkward.
No, of course, but I think maybe they should just let us read it. Us three.
Well, from what I know,
and then we can just talk about it.
I think it had a lot more science, and I think we would have really liked that. I think the premise, though, sounded really. I didn't like the premise, like the way that they're doing things.
Yeah, it was weird. It was some fucking dinosaur thing or whatever with the paleontologist.
Yeah, they find like a new super dinosaur in China, and they clone it, and next thing you know, it's growing super fast because it's a super dinosaur that they didn't even know these things existed, but now it turns out that there's like these super dinosaurs, and it can go invisible and cloak itself, and it's not a hybrid, it is a literal monster from the fossil record. And then the entire movie, Owen's got the raptors up in this harness on like this 3-wheeled like ATV giant vehicle thing, and they're like chasing it around. It was very over the top. He took a lot of those concepts. He's like, okay, let's dial this back a bit, and I totally agree with him. You know,
yeah, but we don't know that in context. You know, we haven't actually seen that script in context surrounding those scenes. Those characters, it could have been very slow. It could have been.
Oh, it could have. That's the thing. I think tonally, it would have probably. I'm just guessing, just from the Apes films, but I'm thinking tonally, it was probably more like a Jurassic film. I'm just saying the actual plot beats themselves. I like what Colin did with the plot beats a lot more.
What, with no space between them?
No, not that. That's again, I think that it would have felt more like a Jurassic film, but I don't think the plot was quite there. I think making the dinosaur a monster, but also trying to say it's a real dinosaur, among other things, just isn't quite getting that aspect of it. So I think Colin got quite a bit of the other aspects, but he turned it into a bit more of a lighthearted, fast-packed, cheesy romp. And I think that they would have had a more slowed down and thoughtful movie. So you kind of, I mean, and this is just going off of what little we know, but we do know, if you look at the concept art, the storyboards, the little bit of information that's out there among some of the things that we learned early in pre-production times, you're able to piece together the story pretty well. And I stand strong in saying I think Colin did the right things with the Indominus Rex and the way that he did the Raptor stuff, but I still would like to see that script. and I bet you it did probably feel pacing-wise and tonally more like a Jurassic film.
Yeah, I mean, David, have you seen the Planet of the Apes film, Rise and Dawn?
Yeah. I thought the second one was pretty decent. The first one, I think the first one, again, I was aware of how sort of Hollywoodized it was, but it had an interesting ending, if I remember, when the virus kind of breaks out. And I thought, that's a more creative, dark way to end a film than Hollywood would usually allow.
The first one felt a little like lower budget in a lot of ways, but it felt very Michael Crichton to me. Like, as soon as, I remember watching this movie, I'm like, oh my god, I feel like this is Michael Crichton wrote Planet of the Apes prequel.
Yeah.
And
that's why I was excited for them to come on for Jurassic World. When they announced that they were writing JP4, I thought, perfect.
Yeah.
Because Dawn, I liked Rise, but Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was incredible. I genuinely loved that movie. And I was, when those names came up, I thought that you couldn't get better than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm excited.
Like
that's why I really want to read the script.
I like the idea of them dabbling with something from the fossil record that we haven't even discovered yet. That, to me, sounds more plausible than mixing two random dinosaurs together and hoping that it works, and it does. I think the hybrid idea is less plausible than finding something in the fossil record that we don't know about. I think that, to me...
I think the problem is, though, it's a monster. I think the problem is going to the fossil record and being like, oh my god, this thing's a monster. It grew to be full size in a year. It can go invisible. It can... And none of that works
but that
for me.
Sounds like the I-Rex to me.
It is, but the thing is, that's not what they're saying. They designed the I-Rex. She is a monster by design, not a monster that lived on this planet.
That's less plausible to me. That's less...
I disagree. I think it's less. I think it's less plausible in the world of Jurassic to say that there was an animal that existed and it wasn't an animal, it was a super monster.
No, because I think if they got DNA from this new animal, the same way they did it in Jurassic Park, right? But they didn't have enough, then they would add other DNA. What if they found this new dinosaur?
That would work a little bit more if they found some new dinosaur.
That would make sense, right? Because that's what the Indominus Rex is. They've taken a normal dinosaur and another normal dinosaur, and then they've added cuttlefish.
Why not use a real species that existed? Say, oh, hey, look, we just found a Majungasaurus or something like that, but we can't get it to clone, so we put some cuttlefish genes in it, and whoops.
Yeah, but isn't that... So that's not what it was. That's not what Rick Jaffa wrote.
No, they
like David's saying, that makes more sense.
They made something up called Malosaurus, and they're like, oh, let's create a dinosaur. And again, I agree with Colin. He's like, it's always been about, an interpretation of real dinosaurs, and going out there and taking something that didn't exist and pretending like it does exist, and also saying it's a monster. He's like, that doesn't work for me. He's like, but if we say, hey, look, we made this dinosaur up, and that's why it's a monster. He's like, that works for me, because the dinosaurs have always been dinosaurs. He's like, to me, it kind of felt like we were lying.
I think in terms of science fiction, it works better if they just discovered a dinosaur that's more vicious than they expected, a bit like the way the raptors turned out. For me, that aligns more with the original Jurassic Park than Jurassic World does, because a hybrid dinosaur is something completely new that we haven't seen in any of the other films, whereas bringing a dinosaur back to life and then it being more vicious than they expected is something we've seen in Jurassic Park. So, I don't know.
Being more vicious than they expected is one thing, but again, what I'm saying is literally the story was it grew too fast and it climbed out of its cage. Because it turns out this super dinosaur was...
Did it grow too fast because of the DNA they had given it, which in turn is the same DNA?
So I think there are two variations. One was they gave it a growth serum, and then it grew too fast. And then the earlier one,
that works.
And then the earlier one was it grew too fast because literally this it was like supposed to be some sort of super creature.
This could be the
practically sounds like an alien pretending to be a dinosaur.
Yeah,
and
maybe so. Maybe they find a species that is it could work.
It doesn't work to me. I mean, honestly, it sounds way too hokey for me. It strips away the joy and wonder of like the concept of a Jurassic movie to me, and just saying, here's a monster, and we're gonna pretend like it was a monster for real, not like it's a monster because of what we did to it. And that's my problem. They're saying there were monsters that lived on this earth, rather than we created a monster. And I think that we created a monster works a lot more.
But you don't know that for sure, though, because we haven't read the script, so it very well could have been they became a monster because of the DNA that they added to it.
I mean, it sounds to me like the same idea as the Diabolus Rex. When I first heard the idea of the Diabolus Rex, I was like, oh no. And then they did it. And I don't know, I still feel the same way, that it's a very it feels like it goes against the grain of what the original Jurassic Park film is all about. I mean, yeah, they created, genetically spliced dinosaurs in the first film, but their goal was to create something that was closer to what the original breed was, and not create something completely made up. And also, with the complexity of genetics, I don't buy that this thing would even live. I mean, if you combine a cuttlefish with a sponge, it's going to just die in 5 seconds. I just don't buy that they successfully bred a hybrid. I still don't. The idea
that's the very premise of the first Jurassic, though, in my opinion. Like with filling in the gaps with tree frog DNA, there's a certain bit that you just kind of have to accept the science. And the thing is, they're saying, well, we spent all this time figuring out the science, and at that point, you've just got to accept it. That for me, in my just understanding the natural world, works more than the concept of just we cloned a dinosaur and we didn't realize what it was, so we brought in a paleontologist to let us know that this dinosaur turns out to practically be a monster. That just doesn't work for me.
I just feel like they they say, we bred this to be bigger than a T-Rex. It's like, why? Why didn't you just use a T-Rex? It's like, it just seems a bit weird it definitely feels like a studio intervention. The I-Rex feels like a product, like something that the studio wanted to introduce to the film, and it was going to be in the film no matter what Colin Trevorrow or, the writers said. I mean, just feels like
I think to a certain point that was the truth. There is a certain truth. That it's Colin took on a lot of Spielberg and the studio's ideas, and we know that
they're all Spielberg's,
even
really.
Since JP3 they've been pushing for bigger, more aggressive hybrid dinosaurs, and I think it's no argument to me because the Indominus I think was handled really well, but I can see where both of you are coming from, and that's, again, it just brings back to the point. That's why I want to read Rick Jaffa's script, because I really want to see how they handled it, because it's obviously come from the same place. It's come from Spielberg and the studio pushing for a big hybrid dinosaur that they can sell.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly. I think while we're talking of hybrids, though, so Jurassic Collectables, yeah, we're going to move to the toys. So obviously Jurassic Collectables, your channel is the Jurassic Collectables, the Jurassic toys. What do you think of Hasbro's fantastic work with the Jurassic World toy line?
It's funny, I was talking to someone about this earlier today, and I think, you have to remember that this is a very, very busy year for Hasbro. They've got Star Wars and they've got the Jurassic World license. So to me, it feels like they passed the Jurassic World toy line to their B team. A bit like the way that the visual effects was handed by ILM to their B team in a way, or their creature department in Singapore. It feels like things have been handed off because Star Wars is a global franchise. It makes way more money than anything else. So essentially, probably all of the effort has gone into Star Wars. A lot of effort's gone into Jurassic World, don't get me wrong, but it does feel like Jurassic World has had less. And I think there's definitely some slips in the quality control area. The sculpts are definitely off. I mean, it just seems weird that they didn't reuse a lot of the molds from The Lost World and Jurassic Park, which are very highly regarded.
I mean, I can tell you why they're not using those. They don't know where they are. Well, they don't have a proper archive.
But you could. It's not hard to 3D scan an existing toy and then clean up digitally.
But also, I don't want that. I want new toys. I just want new toys that live up to that legacy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what fans around the world want. I think there's a lot of quality control issues. There's a lot of things I'm finding when I'm reviewing these Basher and Biter toys where they're in the packaging and they look okay, and then you take them out of the packet. On the other side, you've got all the visible screw holes. And on the Ceratosaurus, for example, and I know some people don't mind the screw holes, but you turn the Ceratosaurus over and they've literally almost not painted the detail on that side. And I was like, whoa, man. That's pretty low for a kid's toy, to basically not paint the other side as well as the side that's showing. I mean, that kind of that to me is a bit low. But I can understand why. And what I was saying is a good point of the Jurassic World toy line is the variety we've got. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got small toys, we've got big toys, we've got some with rubber bits, we've got some with gimmicks and electronics. So actually we have got a lot to choose from. It's just a shame that all the T-Rexes look really weird.
They look stupid, man. Yeah. In fact, most of the dinosaurs do. The raptors have ridiculous overbites.
The bash and bite
you look at any sculpt and they just look crap.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was
honestly
saying is,
super disappointed.
it's a massive industry, and Hasbro basically has to sell these toys on a global scale, like way more than anyone else has to sell their dinosaurs. So it's no surprise that someone like Papo or Rebor comes along and makes these, they're a small independent company. They're not going to sell as many as Hasbro, and they make these beautiful things that are just incredibly detailed, things that are actually up to par with the technology that we have now. And it's just simply because Hasbro has a chain of command. It has things set in place. They make things a certain way, and they need to make 2 billion of these things. So
they need to be durable, and they need action features. So I mean, they're action figures. It comes down to that.
They're not durable at all.
Exactly,
and they break.
But they're locked in. They're locked into this way of making toys that they can't change. The same people who make the Transformers toys are the same people who are going to make the Jurassic World toys, and there's nothing we can do about that. So the same quality control is going to be applied to Jurassic World, but it's very easy to compare Rebor and Papo to what we're getting from Hasbro and go, well, wait a minute, someone else over here can do this beautiful T-Rex that looks exactly like the one from Jurassic Park, and then you're making this thing that is like badly sculpted as if it's made out of plasticine, and then it's like, why is this happening? And it's just because Hasbro's kind of under pressure. They've got so much to do and they've got so much to make.
I still think that somebody in the same timeline that they sculpted the Bash and Bite T-Rex, I think someone could have sculpted something that looked more appropriate. And again, I never actually compared the Jurassic toys to the Papo items or anything like that. I compare them to their past Jurassic toys. I mean, let's talk about the 2013 Allosaurus and Pachyrhinosaurus, which are fantastic. I'm holding the Allosaurus in my hand right now, and I just cannot get over this item. It is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a beautiful toy. I know what you mean. It's just such a weird, and obviously it feels like with that Allosaurus and the Pachyrhinosaurus that they were almost like labors of love for Hasbro at that point in time. Like they had the mold somehow from a previous line.
Yeah, I've got the pack.
Was it
was it
a disused line from Lost World or something? Was it or was there? Where did they get these sculpts from?
Oh, they're new. They sculpted them. Okay, so in 2009 they had a exclusive line going to Toys R Us, and it was supposed to be the introductory line. It was a bunch of repaints, but it was supposed to be the introductory line to the return of Jurassic Park. They actually Hasbro headhunted out to McFarlane Toys at the time and hired people from the Dragons line.
Right, okay.
And they said, we want to do a throwback to classic Jurassic, and we want removable dino damage. We want it to be a Jurassic line. So they brought them in. They said, okay, here's our concept. Here's a concept art. Go. Make us these dinosaurs. And there were the 4 larger ones, which we've seen, which 2 of them released, the Pachyrhino and the other one. And then there are the smaller ones, which we don't have pictures for any of those, and there's only vague details, but I'm pretty sure there's an Ankylosaurus and a raptor and a few other animals. And they're around 6 inches.
So this was in theory for the 2011.
2010, 2011. Yeah, and then there were vehicles
the
and
kind
humans.
Of G.I. Joe cross.
And it actually had a backstory, and it was
what mercenaries
on Nublar. So it seems like it was probably they were talking Universal, and they might have had a prequel, not a prequel story, but they're oh, let's lead into the Jurassic Park 4 toys, which is on Nublar with a new park. Let's make a small story for these toys and pretend they're the guys cleaning up Isla Nublar to build the new park. And that's honestly what it seems like it was going to be.
And it was the Carno and the Stegosaurus which didn't get released.
So the key thing there for me is that they hired McFarlane Toys to do the sculpts. I mean, that's so then it's why didn't you do that for this one?
Yeah, and what's interesting is an in-house person sculpted the Allosaurus. Someone else sculpted the Pachyrhino, and then another person, she sculpted the Stego and the Carno.
And
I have no idea about the smaller ones. I've just only been able to get bits and pieces.
And the Allosaurus, I think at the time, a lot of people drew comparisons to the Papo. Allosaurus.
It's certainly similar, and it's got that Todd Marshall art style to it, but
yeah, it's interesting.
A really nice piece.
It's a shame. I mean, really, then what it comes down to is just really nice sculpts, because some of the gimmicks on these toys aren't too bad. I mean, apart from the fact that their wounds glow and things like that. I mean, it's the actual gimmicks of the toy, I think, would have held up if they'd just got the sculpts and not skimped on the quality control. I think they would have been all right. It's
Yeah.
the variety is what I'm happy with, and the fact that now they are trying
like
to
the
redeem
Ankylosaurus.
themselves with, the new toys. The Ankylosaurus is amazing. I love the Ankylosaurus. I would happily put that on my shelf. And I like some of the newer ones that they're doing, the Dilophosaurus and the Ceratosaurus. They're better than the Series 1 toys. But it's a shame that we didn't get a nice new T-Rex, considering the legacy of the big red T-Rex. And I actually made a tweet today. I said, Hasbro, it's kind of like a no-brainer just to re-release the original Rexes in some form, with the original packaging, like they did with Star Wars, the vintage Star Wars line.
I don't think that's unreasonable. Okay, so we know, or I think we know. Well, I know. In the past, I had a memo, and it was I think when Jurassic Park 4 was coming out in 2014, but they had a memo that there was a Jurassic Park Classic Collection. I think it was coming in 2013 or 2014.
I remember this.
And so they absolutely did plan something like that. And after Jurassic World's success, and the merchandise has been very successful. Like, I mean, people have kind of been like, "Yo, this doesn't look very good," but they've sold very well. I would be very surprised if Hasbro and Universal doesn't revisit that idea. I mean, it's a total no-brainer. I think it would sell to casuals, but I think it would certainly sell to the fandom. And if they did it right, as long as the items were good, so the people that knew the classic toys are like, "Oh my god, this is basically the classic toy and basically the classic packaging," there would be changes. Maybe they would resculpt them, but make them look like it. And they would buy it. And then kids would go, "Hey, look at this awesome T-Rex. I want it." It's a win-win across the board, in my opinion.
It's not going to happen, though, is it?
I don't know.
And I think
don't know.
we've got new Jurassic World stuff on the horizon, but where are the human figures and where are the vehicles?
That is a question that
I'll leave that with you.
Do kids want to buy that stuff though?
Yeah,
absolutely. They're
absolutely.
just interested in the dinosaurs.
Kids love Owen, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a real.
I saw
Jurassic
Owens this
Fangear
Halloween.
was saying, he lives in Hollywood, and he was saying outside theaters there were kids with like pretending to click and train raptors, and I'm like, that it worked. That obviously worked for kids,
that all worked.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't anyone want a little Owen and all four raptors?
And for that matter,
motorcycle.
why isn't there any classic Jurassic Park Lego yet? That's another thing that mystifies me, because they brought out the whole, Jurassic Park Lego game with the whole trilogy, and
they have the license.
and it's like, wait a minute, so why didn't you make a Jeep Wrangler? That was in Jurassic World as well.
Am I mistaken? Didn't somebody say they saw that, or am I mistaken?
No, I think what happened was it's got way more than enough votes on that Lego Ideas website.
No, I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken.
It's got more than enough twice.
It's worth noting that I picked up a custom from Ichiban Toys years ago, and that's got shut down. But he did a Jungle Explorer and a Jeep Wrangler limited run. I've reviewed it on the channel, and that thing is like the pride of my collection. I'm so glad that someone made a Lego Jeep Wrangler with a little. With a little cord that comes off, and you can pull it and put it around your own little Lego tree if you want. But
here's the deal. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens.
Yeah, I think
It'll happen, right?
I'm surprised that hasn't happened already.
The thing is, they had their chance.
I don't agree. I mean, no. Why would they do classic Jurassic when Jurassic World's still a hot property? I think. Yeah. I mean, and since they're doing Jurassic World hybrids, I do wonder if Lego is going to embrace that theme next year as well, and if there will be like a Jurassic World hybrids Lego range. It would probably be smaller, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. But then, what happens after that in the lead up to Jurassic World 2? Honestly, you could probably do some Jurassic World figures, and you could probably do some classic figures, and I think everyone would be happy. It makes sense to me.
Do you guys know if Jurassic World Lego has kind of dried up? Because I'm getting reports that people can't find Jurassic World Lego, and it's going for silly prices on eBay now.
I have been able... I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen after the holidays, but I've been able to confirm from Lego that they're not shipping for the holidays. They have sold out.
Uh-oh.
Right, so that's it. That's Jurassic World Lego now gone.
Because it was a way larger seller than they ever expected. And that's the truth with all the Jurassic items, actually.
I think there's going to be a load of kids at Christmas time who will want that product. They're going to want the Indominus Rex breakout set, and
there is an absolute demand, and it's
how much are they going for on eBay? Because I have all the sets. I'd be willing to sell them. I'm going to sell them. I'm going to sell them all. Fuck it.
Yeah, Asees, have a look on eBay, because I noticed that they are just going for silly prices now, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, that's way more than the the original retail price.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like they must. Well, it must be becoming a scarce set. I wonder if you held on to it a bit longer, how much it would actually be worth.
Yeah, I mean, Lego investing is a thing that people do. I mean, some of those sets like quadruple in price, so it just really depends.
Ooh,
And I wouldn't
like
be surprised with a franchise like this where they've they've built under the amount that actually people want. You're probably onto a winner there.
Yeah, I mean,
I spent so much money on the Lego. They better be worth something. God damn it.
Yeah, I can see
is
them
that why
releasing
you bought them?
one of the sets.
Asees, is that why you bought them to resell them, or did you buy them because you wanted them and now?
I
and
wanted
now
them, but now if they're worth a lot, I'm selling them in a second.
Well, wait
Oh
till
my
around.
God.
Well, I suppose now is getting close to Christmas. You might be able to.
Yeah, wait till closer to Christmas, a little closer, I would say.
Okay,
I mean, that
okay,
just makes
okay.
more sense if you're honestly.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
that way it could probably go to like a parent or something looking for like stuff for their kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
You want it to go to a
that.
kid who's really going to enjoy it.
I'll not feel bad. I'm going to sell it for such high prices. I feel
Well,
like
I
a
mean,
scalper. I am a
if they
scalper
pay
now.
the price, they pay the price. But you know, at the very least, you can kind of know that probably a kid's gonna end up with it and be happy.
It's
Or a
coming from a
collector.
Jurassic
Yeah.
Park fan to another Jurassic Park fan for extremely large amounts of money. So I'm okay. I guess it's fine.
Now, about the hybrids, did you see that there is one of the set names is pretty interesting. It's Alpha Cycle and Raptor Pack. So, and it's
Alpha
a $20
Cycle.
item. Yeah, it's a motorcycle. Yeah, Raptor motorcycle. I mean,
Ooh.
Alpha motorcycle and Raptor Pack. It's a $20 item. At first, I thought it meant like a pack of Velociraptors, but now I realize it just means it's a packed item. Like that's what they call the vehicle
Oh, right.
sets. So I'm wondering if it's going to be. It's obviously going to be Owen. Whether or not they call it Owen or if they just kind of make it a close approximation of him is up to see. But I'm really wondering if it's going to be that really weird 2.5 inch scale human figure that they had for the Jurassic World toys that nobody really liked, or if they're actually going to bring it up to a 3.75 inch, which is
I think
what the
I think it's guaranteed they're going to make an Owen action figure. Whatever happens, I think if
it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
If they're doing any more to get kids actually interested in the hybrids line, what better way to do it than to introduce some of the main characters from the film, as
And then-
full-size figures.
And if it is a 3.75 inch figure, I do wonder if there will be human figures with the hybrids line, like as their own separate SKUs. And the only reason why we don't have all the listings for the hybrids items. I can tell you that right now. The stuff that was found because they're selling it under the original SKUs. So basically, like the Bash and Bites, they looked under Bash and Bites in their retail system, and they saw a bunch of new UPCs with descriptions, and they're like,
Right.
"Oh, this is new." And then for the Growlers, they found that, and then I think for the Owen one, it was under the SKU for the Battle Pack.
Right.
But anything that's brand new, like just something a standalone item, or like human with hatchling, since that didn't exist in Jurassic World, it's probably in the system. The question is, how do you find it? And so there
It
are
sounds
going
like
to be
Chaos
surprises.
Effect, man.
It sounds. I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you. I'm more excited for this line than I am the Jurassic World toys, because the quality control issues mixed with their art style for a lot of the dinosaurs just didn't work. They're supposed to be real dinosaurs, and you have a T-Rex that looks like it came out of a Happy Meal. But if it's a hybrid and it's got these cheesy colors on it and this goofier sculpt, I think it just, to my eyes, it might look more natural. I'm like, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like, not like this looks like a really cheap T-Rex. And
You know what
some of the
looked really
dinosaurs,
cool? Those
I'm
hero
excited for.
click things.
Like the Carnoraptor. That I'm excited
I mean-
for the Carnoraptor, and all the dinosaurs are straight out of the Ludia game. The
This is
Jurassic
what I'm
World
worried
builder.
about. It's going down the hybrid route. It's already started. The merchandise is going down this route. The movie will go down
You
this
know
route
that has
too,
nothing
I'm
to
sure.
do with what the sequel's going to be.
I know,
mean, this
but
is just
this,
has
I feel like this is where the franchise is going. It's going further and further away than from the grounded reality of the first three movies.
But it's okay because we can just like me and you, we don't have to watch.
we don't have to watch
these
them,
films. I mean, that's
Again,
the thing. It's like
just really
Indiana
upsetting,
Jones
though,
4.
you know?
I watch Indiana Jones 4 less than the others. It's not something I can't change the fact that it's not as good as the other three. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I would have liked something that was more faithful to the original and didn't have all these new elements crammed into one film. I think I could probably just about have dealt with maybe the hybrid Indominus Rex in one movie, and then maybe the trained raptors in the next movie. But
it
to
was a
have them
lot in
both-
one movie.
Yeah, there was a lot, and I think me and my
absolutely.
wife came out, and we didn't talk about the film at all before we came out, and I just kind of just exhaled, and I didn't like it, and my wife just kind of turned to me and said, neither did I. So it was just that feeling of, we both came out of the movie, we both know the first film really well, and it just wasn't Jurassic Park for us. It felt like a reboot, and that's fine, because it's a new generation of people who are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's for the next generation of kiddies.
But it's not for me. It's not the movie that I'd sit down and watch in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I like Jurassic World, but I can 100% empathize there, and I definitely know it's not Jurassic Park. It is Jurassic World. For better or for worse, it's something very different. And I think I enjoyed a lot of the aspects, and I think a lot of things were very well done. I still honestly think Jurassic World would be a better movie if it stayed more true to some of those Jurassic Park style beats. Or maybe calling them Jurassic Park style beats isn't exactly fair, because it sounds like we're asking the movie to be the first film. I'm not. I just wanted to feel more Michael Crichton. I just wanted to feel more in line with the spirit of the Michael Crichton Jurassic universe. Yeah.
And again, I think that comes back to the Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver script. If you think Rise of the Planet of the Apes felt like Michael Crichton, then what did their Jurassic script feel like?
Again, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure it felt more like a Jurassic movie. I just don't quite like the story beats they used. I think Colin was like, that doesn't sound like Jurassic. But then the way he wrote the movie felt more like a different type of movie. So it's kind of like this double-edged sword there. It's kind of going
I have to admit as well, I was very worried about Colin Trevorrow being awarded Star Wars 9. As a Star Wars fan as well, I'm not too sure.
He's perfect for Star Wars, to be honest. More so than even Jurassic, in my opinion.
No.
I don't know. I really... I mean, for a lot of people, Return of the Jedi is their favorite film.
You were clamoring for him to get Star Wars.
This is true, I was. This is when the hype was still real, my friend. When the hype was real. The hype is no longer real.
I think you watched... I honestly think you watched the movie too many times in a short amount of time.
No, then, in your logic, Jurassic Park should deteriorate as well, but it does not. It does not hold up after multiple viewings.
And I
don't think you'd be in this state, though, if you didn't watch it so many times.
That's bullshit. I've watched Jurassic Park like a billion times. That's
not a thing. But not in the same way. You didn't watch Jurassic Park a billion times when it first came out, is the difference here.
That's incorrect. I've watched... No, that's not a thing, man.
Colin directing...
I was a baby and I watched it 10 times in theaters.
I was Colin directing when Jurassic Park came
out. So I think Colin directing a Star Wars movie would be okay if he was doing... the middle one. It's just the fact that the responsibility is left with him to end the movie, and I kind of feel like, oh no, like we're gonna see two really good movies. Like, I trust the second director because he did Looper, and that was an awesome film. And now it's going to be the third one with Colin Trevorrow, and he might be an amazing director. I mean, I thought his first film, the time travel one, what's it called?
Safety Not Guaranteed. Movie.
Yeah, see, I thought that was okay, but it was okay. And then Jurassic World, again, it's okay. So, Star Wars, it's a big deal. It's like, Empire Strikes Back, the second one is being done by a director who I feel actually could step up to that level. But the third film, unfortunately, I don't feel like Colin's going to step up to the last Star Wars, and I'm just a bit concerned. It might be that Jurassic World was really badly written and his directing was really good, in which case it might be fine. And I'm really hoping that's what happens, because I really love Star Wars and I just want it to end really well. But I just feel like that's a lot of responsibility coming out of a film like Jurassic World.
I think Star Wars is different too. They have like an entire body of people to help too. I feel like Jurassic Park was just him, Steven Spielberg, and like maybe one or two executives.
Yeah.
But with and Kathleen Kennedy, she knows what she's doing. They won't let that movie go to shit for whatever reason.
Yeah, I hope JJ and the second director are kind of leaning over him like, you better do a good job. You better make sure this isn't cheesy and American. And no, I'm sorry.
I think Star Wars is being handled really well. I think
Kathleen
we haven't
Kennedy.
seen Star Wars 7, but obviously I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm not that much of a Star Wars fan myself, but I think the directors they've chosen for each film are pretty damn good, and I think it's a safe bet that Colin will do a very good job.
Yeah.
And I
really like him as a director, and I think, David, your comments are true. Maybe it's the writing that was lacking.
Yeah.
I think the direction maybe was right, and I think his heart was so in there. And, Jurassic World, for me, it is great.
Yeah.
It has some really nice elements to it. I think he did a really good job. But maybe you're right. Maybe it was purely the script.
I think
in an alternate universe, I think maybe seeing him direct Rick Jaffa's script could have been really.
Yeah, and I feel like he was fighting to keep what is Jurassic Park in this film, and what's left of Jurassic Park that's in Jurassic World is what kept people on their seats. If I'm absolutely honest, I think all the nods that you get to Jurassic Park, whether you notice them or not, make this a fantastic movie. And it's Colin Trevorrow who injected that Jurassic Park back into what was otherwise going to be a Hollywood disaster. And it feels like he basically curbed it off of this disaster. He basically just kept it out of this disaster zone by adding more and more Jurassic Park stuff into it until it felt like a Jurassic Park movie. And I'm just hoping that, it was, like you say, the writing and the studio intervention that kind of made sort of 50-50 with fans.
I don't think it's fair to call it studio intervention. I think it's just the studio. I don't think it was intervention as much as they were brought in.
Oh, come
he was
on.
brought in and had a direction to go for.
You've even said before about how crap they are at managing their own franchise.
Oh,
and they can't.
But that's
and
different than studio
This was going to be a big one.
I think
This was going to be a big one for them. They clearly intervened, and they had to make it sellable. And that was a point. It's a job. It's a market.
I disagree here. I know. I mean, honestly, it comes down to Steven Spielberg had a vision for Jurassic Park 4, and it was basically built around.
God damn it!
I honestly, Spielberg's Jurassic Park 4 would have been like the Carlos Huante art, and I'm not even sure. I don't think I want that.
I remember that. That's good.
I don't want that.
Good stuff.
So
good stuff.
I think that
I don't know.
it's not. I don't think it's fair to say it's studio intervention. Studio intervention makes it sound like he would come up with his own ideas, and then they'd be like, "You can't do that," or like halfway through the movie, while he's filming, they're like, "You need to do this and this." I don't think it was anything like that. He came in with certain guidelines, like, "This is the direction we want this story to go in. What's your take on it?" He wrote his take, and they're like, "Okay, cool, that works." Yes, the studio had given him direction, and by the studio I mean Spielberg, but I don't think it was intervention. I think saying intervention sounds more. It sounds more like what happened with like Fantastic
Yeah, but
Four
he's not going to talk negatively
like
about his experience on the film, is he? What if he had a bad time making it? I mean, he didn't. Yeah. We know he didn't. But
But again,
he's not going to tell.
Saying,
we're
what
not
if
going to learn the
something
truth
happened
unless
that
we're in
didn't
the know.
happen? And the thing is, Hollywood is not like a tightly sealed ship. When stuff like this happens, especially on a big franchise, you hear about it. I mean, we all probably. I mean, I think we all have talked to people that have been involved in production, some very high levels, and that's just not the case. That's not the way it happened. And
you know what? Speaking of production, let's talk about the animatronics because we're running a little bit longer here, right?
Oh yeah, this has been a longer one for sure, but it's been fun.
Okay, I'll just narrow this one down quickly. So basically, there was an interview that Rotten Tomatoes did with Nick Robertson and Ty Simpkins, and they were talking about the Apatosaurus scene. But they were talking about that scene and how it was, a throwback to Stan Winston and all this. And then Ty Simpkins jumped out with that Colin said this was the last animatronic to be used. Something like that. Mm-hmm. What was his line? I've got it written down.
He said it was supposed to be a throwback to animatronics.
I think that's going to be the last animatronics they ever make, actually. And then Ty Simpkins said, yeah, that's what Colin said, the last animatronic. Now, obviously, they're paraphrasing what Colin said. And they'd obviously have no reason to lie. Colin never said that, blah, blah, blah. But Colin has now gone on Twitter to say, not to us or not to anyone that actually directly asked him, but to some people that were angrily tweeting him saying...
like, way to go, man. Like, it was just angry tweets.
It was weird. I mean, yeah, I wish he would have just said to us, no, that's not true, because we did ask for confirmation.
I mean, I don't think he needed to reply to anybody. I think he just should have...
But he did.
I think he should have just tweeted, in general. Yeah. But the problem is he's working on a film that's not Jurassic, so maybe it would be kind of weird to tweet about Jurassic World in the middle of the Book of Henry production cycle.
But he did anyway. He did.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, I'm saying without a reply. Without it, I mean, just flat out tweeting, not replying to anybody.
But no one's saying that. He could have. There's a whole article where we reported that, and we reported what Nick Robinson said. He could have very quickly said, "Oh, hang on, no, guys, that's wrong. Sorry, don't. Do you know what I mean?"
Yep.
Instead, he replies to some crazy.
I don't know if it's entirely fair because when he signed on to his Twitter, that might have been the first tweet he saw because he might have signed on to his Twitter a little bit later.
Oh, of course.
And that's that's what he replied to. Which is, I mean, there's 1,000 people tweeting him about Jurassic, especially.
I mean, I end up feeling sorry for Colin on this note. I think that I mean, when I first heard the quote, I was upset. I thought it had got to a point where it had been confirmed that was definitely the case. And it's obvious that it's some sort of offhand statement that Colin Trevorrow has said, like, this is probably the last animatronic that's ever going to be built. As in, like, he's probably saying that as in, like, realistically, this probably will be.
And realistically, it probably was at that point.
Yeah,
and he had to fight. He had to fight really hard for that. He wanted more. Yeah. He had to fight for, what I will say
that. Yeah,
on Twitter, he even admits. Yeah, I mean, we knew that from behind the scenes information that he fought for it.
That's just sad, and that's the kind of studio intervention that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that it shouldn't be that a director has to fight to keep animatronics in a film that has always been about animatronics, and I know probably it's due to the cost. And I do wonder, like with Jurassic World, whether other potential directors came forward and they all had their ideas, and maybe Colin Trevorrow's was the one that fell closest in line with the script that Universal already had, and they wanted a new dinosaur and they wanted this trained raptors. So his was actually the closest vision and the best suitable director to take on this job. Whereas others might have made it more Jurassic Park and more dinosaurs and not hybrids. And so that's why he got the job.
Here's the thing, I mean, the Jaffa and Silver script, it was greenlit. Like, I mean, they brought him on to direct it, and he's like, look, this is pretty cool, but I want to write my own story, so if I'm going to direct, can I write my own story? And they're like, okay, show us what you can write. And that's the way it happened. But if it was another director they brought on who didn't say that, they would have probably went ahead and shot that script. I mean, it was greenlit. I think it was at a final or a semi-final state at that point.
Right.
And then, hence the delay with the movie.
And again, I mean, when we say the studio, it sounds too like this big. It sounds like a big corporation running the movie. I mean, really, it comes down to Spielberg had a vision for Jurassic Park 4, and it eventually led to this movie. This collaboration of his vision for Jurassic Park 4, working with these other talented artists out there and writers, is eventually we got Jurassic World from that. I don't think it's fair to call it studio intervention as much as there has always been a seed of an idea for Jurassic Park 4, and that seed wasn't allowed to be thrown away. That seed always had to be used to plant and form itself into a fully fledged ecosystem.
I'd really love to grab a coffee with Spielberg. I mean, I think anyone would. But I'd really love to grab a coffee with Spielberg and just kind of go, I'm not going to tell anyone, I'm not going to talk to anyone else about this. I just want to hear what you thought about Jurassic World. I mean, what did you think of it on a creative level and on a filmmaking level? How would you rate it? What did you enjoy about it? What did you not enjoy about it? What would you change, and how would you have done Jurassic World, And I know that he's not interested in sequels. He's not interested in doing, even The Lost World, he wasn't really interested in doing a sequel. And that's because he realizes that you're making it for money, not for filmmaking. And I think it'd be really interesting to sit down with him and hear his thoughts on a critical level about what he thought about Jurassic World. Because I think that he probably would have been surprised it did as well as it did.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's surprised by how... I think everyone expected it to be successful, but there were always some second guessing. I mean, that's why the budget was always an up and down battle, and why they had to fight for animatronics and everything along those lines, because honestly, Universal just wasn't sure that Jurassic was going to be popular. It wasn't anything about the quality of the writing of the film. They just honestly did not have a lot of faith in... I mean, they expected to perform to a certain extent, but in today's market, it's Marvel-controlled, these cinematic universe-controlled markets. They just weren't 100% sure where would Jurassic sit in that totem pole. Would it be something that audiences would enjoy? Well, of course, it's dinosaurs, and that's always kind of has a universal appeal. And it blew away everyone's expectations. And I think,
see the Marvel universe in it. I can see the Marvel universe injected directly into its backbone, and I think that's what takes it away from what Jurassic Park is. I mean, you can see it. You can see the Age of Ultron in Jurassic World. It's blatantly from the same, tree of Age of Ultron. It's just got that same feeling for me. But I would love to hear his critical opinion on the film, and whether he would have made the movie that way, and what would have been the movie he would have made if he had to make a sequel. Because I don't know, I feel like he would have gone down a much darker route.
I think it would have been darker.
For me, I want to see all the concepts they ever had.
Yeah.
All the ideas for the past
That
14
would be
years,
cool.
And I want to see.
That'd be amazing.
That would be, a fan's dream.
That would be the cool. I
Something
would buy
like
that
that.
art book. Give me a hardcover $50, $100 art book of like the past 14 years of development of Jurassic Park 4 to Jurassic World, with only slight details so that they don't. I imagine they're going to want to keep a lot of the certain plot aspects or the people involved secret other than the artists. But I would love to see all the art developed for this movie.
Something
all
I
the
was
concepts.
thinking about. Something I was thinking about in terms of the plot of Jurassic World was I kind of just went off and thought like, well, let's just go back to before Jurassic World existed and just rewind back to that point. And I thought like, what would I have liked to have seen? What would have been really cool? And I just think, do you remember like before The Lost World came out, there was this whole thing of there were rumors that Jurassic Park is something still happening. And that was the whole thing. It was like there are rumors that something still exists.
See,
And
I was too young, so I don't.
Right.
Yeah,
But it was
I don't know any of this.
it was in the books and it was in the marketing, and it was basically almost like Jurassic World. There was a Jurassic Park. Sorry, there was a whisper that there was something still around, and it was this almost.
Oh,
like
I think
this
that's
very-
what was. I think that's what was
very-
going on with the cartoon and like the toys back then.
Right, so it's like a very subtle. It's almost like it's a rumor, and then the film would have slowly built off from that, and that's what they did with The Lost World. And I felt like that slow creep into the film would have been fantastic, especially if you'd introduced some of the past characters and had this rumor that they maybe were starting a new Jurassic Park, and that was what Jurassic World was, and they were building it, and somehow maybe Sarah Harding or Ian Malcolm or someone decides to sabotage it, to stop it, and they have like an activist thing where they go in and try to stop it.
Eco-terrorism. That's
Like,
like
it-
Nick Van Owen shit.
I mean, that sounds like the Lost World at that point, though. Unfortunately, but I mean,
But
I think that the idea of an
think
open
something
running
like that
park
would have
is
been-
awesome. But
I mean,
it
it
jumped
could've-
it jumped
it
right
could-
into it, and then it threw it out very quickly.
It could have
It's
been
like,
like
hey,
Jurassic
there's a
Park,
park,
where it's
and
like it's pretty
now it's
much
gone.
running, but it's like threadbare. It's like a threadbare park, like the original Jurassic Park was. And I think in a way that might work better than having thousands of people who are kind of just fodder. I think if you care about the characters more, less is more. And I think it would have been better if we'd seen more of a threadbare park. It could have been done, and we could have seen all the rides because you get that feeling of seeing it in advance as well. You get seeing it before it's even open. And I think that was part of the appeal of the original Jurassic Park. I don't think having it necessarily open was important. It was seeing the park, seeing the whole park done and finished is cool. But I think that feeling of the original Jurassic Park where you have the advanced sneak preview and then the park goes wrong because there's not enough staff. I think that's a really cool concept, and that's what to me makes Jurassic Park what it is.
And again, I mean, like that would probably be a good movie, but it would also be too much of a retread in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I think
I know.
that the concept. I think I like the idea of a concept of an open park. I just don't think that Jurassic World fully utilized the setting as well as it could have. I
Yeah.
think that there were a lot of
it
things
didn't.
that they could have done in that setting, and a lot of really cool themes and plot pieces they could have explored. And I think that most of that was just kind of brushed over, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And that's too bad because we're not going to see that again. And maybe it's almost too much to jump right into, like, after Jurassic Park 3 and jump into a film and set up everything. I mean, they really have to do a lot in a 2-hour span, and that's why Jurassic World feels like just a non-stop boom, 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 things are happening. There is no breathing room, like you said, Jack, and it doesn't even have breathing room, and it doesn't have, like, the slower, tense scenes. The Indominus Rex breakout, it's very Jurassic, but it's very quick. And,
Yeah, that's the one part that I really thought was handled well. Actually, I thought that was I was really into the movie at that point. Even the bit where Owen's under the car, I thought this is cool because it's like,
oh, yeah.
it's feeling like
I like
the
that.
Lost World novel, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a really good movie. And then just slowly, more and more things started getting just a little bit OTT for my liking, and I was just taken out of that world. And it's probably my age and the type of films I grew up watching. I think plausibility is quite important to me. So when I watch a film, if I don't think it's plausible, I'll just switch off. I'll just kind of, almost like I'm daydreaming, I'll just kind of look at the walls and not really worry about the film, because I've lost that connection, that plausibility that the film has. And I think there were more and more of these blocks being put up that made it less and less plausible for me. But I can see how a modern audience would find it really exciting and would see it like a non-stop ride, like it just keeps going.
Definitely.
And I can see
Like
that.
everyone around me loved
Yeah.
it. all my friends that were, they like Jurassic Park. Yeah, they're not a crazy fan like me. They're not obsessed, kind of like you were saying earlier, David. But everyone loved it. I've not spoken to the average moviegoer, someone who didn't like it, which I think is really good. Like in that sense, it's an amazing thing for the franchise.
Yes, exactly.
And like you said from the very beginning, it's raised awareness of an already incredible franchise.
It's
with
raised the visibility, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
I have a question.
I think that's what we can end it on.
That's put a huge smile on my face because that's really what matters. I mean, it's awed them and it's made them. It's inspired their imagination. They want the toys and they want more. And it did that right, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we can safely wrap up here. I think it's been amazing having you on, David. But I think
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I don't want to come across to Jurassic World fans as this angry Jurassic Park fan. I really am happy that the franchise is doing so well, and it's great for the Jurassic Park community. So that part I'm really, really happy about. That was just my feeling going away from the cinema. And it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. If everyone enjoyed it, then that's what I wanted. I wanted everyone to be happy. So that's great.
Dude, you're in a safe place, man. People can hate the film. Like we're not like Chris, me and Chris, we like it a lot more than Asees, and we don't hate Asees any less than we hate him.
Yeah, I mean, we came into this disliking him just a little bit, and it hasn't changed really.
Someone's got to take that role, and it's me, unfortunately, but I'll take it. I'll take one for the team, so you boys look good.
But it's good, man.
I love it.
But I think the next time we speak to you, David, you have to watch it again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think I need.
I'm gonna wait till it goes into the bargain bin at my local supermarket, and then I'll pick up the movie. I'm definitely not buying that £60 box set. That's for sure.
No,
snap
but
off,
the sculpts
snap
in
off
that.
the Indominus Rex off the other side and have just the T-Rex in an angry rant. But yeah, no, it's cool.
That's
it's
fair,
cool.
man. That's fair. I mean, if you're gonna do that, like you said, you might as well just have a Papo.
Oh
Rex
man,
and
yeah, exactly.
We've
just got a brand new one reviewed on the channel. Just plug it even more.
I saw, man. I saw.
All right.
Listen, man. Get back to us when you've seen it again, because it would be nice to have you on and see if your thoughts have changed at all.
Yeah, definitely.
I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh no, thank you for having me. It's been an honour. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's it.
It's been great speaking to you, man. I think if anyone doesn't recognise that voice, then search Jurassic Collectables on YouTube and you'll understand why that voice is a well-known voice within the franchise now. It's been nice to speak to you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for
coming. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun one.
Yeah, thanks for talking with me. It's really great, and thanks for giving up all that time. It's great to talk with you.
You too, man.
All right.
Have a good
Take care.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Bye.